And of course, Minister, if the North Ring Road and the M20 was built, we could meet a lot quicker to have to address other concerns. May I say at the outset, Minister, the reason I raise this issue, I think it's a national priority, but more importantly in the context of the development of Cork, we do need to see progress in the North Ring Road itself, and that's linking the M8 to the M20. And I suppose, Minister, when you look at Cork and how it's made up, we are totally dependent on the tunnel on the eastern side of the city for infrastructure in terms of traffic from north to south going through that tunnel. And if anything were to happen to that tunnel, we simply would have no access across the River Lee for the traffic volumes that are now going through the tunnel on a daily basis. And we are talking about spending sums of money in upgrading the Dunkettle roundabout to make it into a leaf type of junction system. And we welcome all of that. But of course, what we should also be doing and prioritising is the North Ring Road itself, which would address the absolute dependency that Cork now has for its infrastructure and traffic movement on the tunnel itself. And the idea that we could shelve this when the north side of the city is underdeveloped and poorly developed in terms of infrastructure and what infrastructure supports in terms of attracting further industry and opening up areas for development. As you're aware, Apple is on the north side of the city. It is a huge employer. It's an international flagship company. And, you know, we want to be able to capitalise on that type of company locating in the heart of the north side of the city. But the only way we can advance industry and commerce in that area is by actually developing a proper traffic route. And that does require the building of the North Ring Road from on the eastern side, Killydonoghue, all the way across to Powellvone in Ballincollig. And anything short of that does really undermine the capacity of the city to develop on the north side. And there is an unequal balance between the two sides in terms of investment. And that is patently obvious for anybody to see any day of the week if you want to drive across the city. On the southern side, there's an awful lot more development and investment than there is in the north side, both in local authority, but as importantly, with private investment. So the obligation I believe that you have as a government is to ensure that this road is constructed and developed. And then, of course, Minister, to link our two great cities is the next piece in the jigsaw then. We do have to put the M20 back firmly on the map. It is a critical infrastructural development. The North Ring Road in Cork, and then the M20 between Cork and Limerick itself, so that we can create a counterweight. Two great cities coming together. We do it in the rugby on a regular basis, but we could also do it in many other areas, because I believe that then you would have a corridor from Galway south to Limerick and on to Cork. Three university cities, three cities that have an exceptional quality of life, linked by rail and linked by road. Deepwater Port in Cork, Deepwater Port in Foynes, International Airport in Shannon, and an International Airport in Cork. Huge opportunity to counterbalance, to develop the west and the southwest. And it is important, Minister, and I don't want to be too parochial on it, but I mean, we do believe that if this is not developed in the next number of years, it will have a retarding effect on growth and investment in that region. It would open up the whole of the southwest and west to investment, opportunity in the areas of the pharmaceutical base that we have in Cork. When you move up along the country or up along that link then into Galway, where you have the medical devices, there is huge potential for symbiotic development and cross-fertilisation of capacities in the various cities. So, Minister, the immediate step is the North Ring Road to make sure we're not dependent alone on the tunnel, and then for the M20 to be put firmly back on track.
Thank you, Deputy. Montana. And I suppose while I share an interest in the Cork-Limerick Road, I will confine my answer to the one that has been raised by the Deputy, and as I said, I'm taking it on behalf of the Minister, Paschal Donohoe. Minister Donohoe has responsibility for overall policy and funding in relation to the National Roads Programme. The planning, design and implementation of individual national road projects is a matter for Transport Infrastructure Ireland, formerly known as the NRA, under the Roads Acts of 1993 to 2015, in conjunction with the local authorities concerned. Within its capital budget, the assessment and prioritisation of individual projects such as the Cork North Ring Road is a matter in the first instance for TII in accordance with Section 19 of the Roads Act. Ireland has just under 100,000 kilometres of road in its network, and the maintenance and improvement of national, regional and local roads places a substantial financial burden on local authorities and on the Exchequer. Because of the national financial position, there have been very large reductions in Exchequer funding available for roads expenditure over the past number of years. For this reason, the focus has had to be on maintenance and renewal rather than major new improvement schemes. The Northern Ring Road was one of a range of proposed road development projects which had to be deferred. Thankfully, the economy is now recovering, and the pressures we are now facing relate to renewed economic growth. The Government's capital plan reflects the need to maintain a prudent approach to expenditure balancing investment needs and the long-term sustainability of the national finances. The transport element of the plan was framed by the conclusions reached in Minister Donohoe's Department's Strategic Investment Framework for Land Transport. This report highlighted the importance of maintenance and renewal of transport infrastructure, together with targeted investments to address in particular bottlenecks and critical safety issues. The capital plan provides €6 billion for investment in the roads network in the period to 2022, with €4.4 billion earmarked for the maintenance and strengthening of the existing extensive network throughout the country and €1.6 billion for new projects. While it will not be possible to address all the demands for improvement schemes over the next plan period, the plan does provide for the gradual build-up in capital funding for the road network towards the levels needed to support maintenance and improvement works. In this context, a number of important projects in Cork are included in the plan, including the upgrade of the Dunkettle roundabout and the N22 road between Ballyvorney and Macroom. And in addition, the plan also provides that the N28 upgrade scheme will also commence, subject to planning permission.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy.
Well, I suppose, Minister, Your Honesty, in the reply sort of disappoints the object of I raising this particular issue, because we have to emphasise that this is not just a regional or a local issue. It really is strategic in terms of the development of the second city. We talk about access to the port, for example, that's been proposed to move down further the harbour in Ringaskiddy. We talk about opening up the north side of the city for investment and development, ensuring that the city and the critical infrastructure around it is not fully dependent on the tunnel. And I can instance a few cases. For example, we have a massive pharmaceutical base in the Lower Harbour and in the intermediary harbour area. We also have an airport on the south side of the city, but most of its hinterland would be from the northern and eastern parts of the country. And the dependence on the tunnel in the event of anything happening would mean that the economic life of the Cork region could come to a standstill for a period of time if the tunnel was closed for whatever reasons, be it an accident, be it actual damage to a tunnel, or some other event took place. So if we had the North Ring Road linking the South Link on the eastern side and moving across the North Ridge to Killydonoghue on the M8, well, then that would alleviate all those problems. And it would also alleviate the difficulty that we're going to have in the next couple of years in the context of the Dunkettle interchange upgrade, where we are going to pile more and more traffic into a system that simply can't take it. Our South Link Road is like a parking lot at sometimes. And if we had that North Ring Road, well, that would address all the challenges facing the city in terms of traffic movement and attracting investment and other commercial life and tourism into the city. So, Minister, I urge that you would reflect and convey to the Minister O'Donoghue my deep concerns about the fact that this has fallen off the priority list. The land is there. All we need is the will and the commitment.
Well, Deputy Kelleher, as a former Minister of State yourself, I think you'll know very well that governments have got to plan their expenditure on the basis of the money that's available to them. And clearly, we had a collapsed economy when we came into government following your tenure, and we have had to be very prudent in terms of the economic recovery, which has only just begun, thanks to the efforts we've made in recent years. And we cannot spend what we haven't got. So we have a capital budget which is prudent, which will gradually improve as the economy recovers. And we have done what we can. Minister Donoghue and indeed other ministers have done what we can with the capital one we have available to us. And I certainly will convey your concerns, but I think you have to accept the economic reality in which we find ourselves, and the need to be prudent and the need to ensure that we maintain the recovery and that we don't put it in jeopardy.